G'day, it's Ron from Ferguson Brothers Rail. In this video we're going to take a crappy old garage and turn it into a fully lined and fully insulated model railway room. Stick around for some tips and techniques that you might be able to apply to your own model train room renovation.
Well, this is the starting point. An old garage built in the 80s, made with steel trusses and hardwood battens. The train room will go on this end. I'm actually converting the garage into a clubhouse with a pool table and bar. Here's a snapshot. If you want to see more of this, check out my other channel. I'll drop a link in the description below. This space is 5.8 by 3.6 metres. That's about 19 feet long and 12 feet wide. There's a ton of things to think about when designing the railway, so you'll definitely need a pondering chair. Spinning chairs are best, so you can ponder in 360 degrees. Layout design is a big topic, so we'll cover that in another film and keep this one centered around the renovation. Let's look at a quick 3D sketch to set the scene. In practical terms, the railway runs around the outside of the room. We've got a lower service loop so locos can do a full circuit, but out of sight. They access this via a helix in the center of the room. The main bench is high, 1250mm at track height. This makes the viewing angle more realistic and comfortable, and helps us get underneath more easily as well. In addition, the layout never exceeds 900mm deep, so everything is within reach. We're building a fill yard in the middle of the room, so it's off the main line and directly adjacent to a workbench, a little lower down on the other side. I'm going to reframe from the inside with 70 by 35mm structural pine. That'll give me a decent cavity to pack with insulation and a nice flat surface for drywall. I replaced the old crappy windows with a couple of new windows. The old ones are just about falling out, so I replaced them. At the top, I've actually cut the studs on an angle to follow the roof line. And the iron I'm going to use for the sheet for the ceiling lining is going to sit on top of those top plate, the top there. There's just enough room that it'll fit along there, and then it'll screw onto these extra battens going along the ceiling. I've just painted the trusses monument, which is like a dark grey. The ceiling is going to be the same colour, so they shouldn't be too visible once the ceiling's in. I'll explain how I'm going to do the roofing. So there's 3 pieces of tin that make up the roof. First of all, this piece of flashing gets screwed into the hardwood battens up top, and that stops any dust and moisture and rubbish coming down through the ridge gap. Then the roofing sheets go either side of that, down the roof and meeting the walls. They'll meet in the middle of this crease here. And then this final piece of flashing just sandwiches it all together, just to dress it off and hide those edges. So it'll end up looking like this with the sheets. See up between the trusses here, I'm just running some string lines. That just helps to hold the insulation bats up. Once I've put the iron sheets up, I'll cut those strings and pull them out. So this is the nice and simple solution for getting the wall sheets up. Much easier with 2 people, so I've got my wife helping me. This is just a bit of wood with a couple of bits of wood clamped to each end to give it a nice bit of surface area. The idea is that we hook one end of the sheet over the top plate of the studs that's against the wall. Then I hold the sheet up while my wife pushes this in to jam the sheet up between the floor and the ceiling. And then it's nice and safe, I can go and screw it all off. Here in Australia, we often use Gyprock products. They make plasterboard and a whole range of other stuff. After gluing and screwing the sheets to the frame, I use their base 45 to bed paper into the joins. I've mixed up bags and bags of the stuff over the years, so I don't need to measure anymore. Basically, I'm shooting for a nice smooth toothpaste mix. I make it a bit wetter when I'm bedding in crease paper in the corners. I start setting pretty quick, so I only mix up small batches and always wash the knife and container between each mix, even if I need to do a little bit more. Make sure you use these buccal head screws. Here they're smooth, whereas these ones, you've got little teeth on them. The teeth will rip up your plasterboard, so you've got to use the buccal heads.
Love the smell of fresh glue. You can see how the paper's just covered with a very thin film, and there's mud underneath everything. That's the main thing. Don't want any air bubbles.
After the base coat sets, I feather out a top coat using a broad steel knife. This is a softer compound that you can sand smooth. Ideally, you get it smooth enough with the knife so it hardly needs any sanding. But I'm not going to lie, this takes a lot of practice. I highly recommend running a coat of undercoat first. You get much better results with the final paint and it'll stick better. With the priming undercoat, you don't need to fuss over dust, just get it on. I'll talk about the colour choice in a sec. We're using 11.5 watt LED strip lighting. One down the centre above the fiddle yard, then a pelmet running around the 3 walls that don't have windows. They mount inside an aluminium channel. There's a couple of reasons. The aluminium acts as a heatsink to keep the diodes cool, and it allows the plastic diffuser strip to snap into place. The power required for LEDs needs to be calculated to ensure you've got a driver with the right amount of power. And bad news folks, this stuff ain't cheap. The drivers can be $200 to $300 depending on the wattage. To power 13 metres of pelmet lighting, I needed a 150 watt driver, which was about $250. Then there's another $400 in the LEDs and the channel. Even if you can do this all yourself, you still need to budget about $1,000 Australian, and that's about $650 US in 2023. This is one of the drivers, big fella. So that just sits in there nice and tidy. And I've got another one of these in the clubhouse that I've painted. You can hardly even tell it's there. There are some things you can be tight with, then there are some things you can't. Lighting is one of those other things. Even though it costs a bit, we've now got consistent luminance above the layout at a distance that works best for our bench depth. There's strong light over the tracks, but the light is set back far enough that the scenery won't cast dirty big shadows, and it's all running back through a dimmer switch. For the colour, we've used a mid-grey for the walls to ensure the layout really pops out. The walls above the pelmet are the same dark ceiling colour. Think of a widescreen TV compared to the old 4:3 ratio. The wider orientation is more cinematic, and this is what we want, given railways are horizontal. The dark above the pelmet almost seems like space above the world, so it'll look really nice when we start creating scenery.
Right, I think we'll call it a wrap for this one. Please subscribe, there's a whole lot of stuff coming. If you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, you'll be alerted when new videos come out. We've got to build out this train room now. We've got bench work, a fandangled door to build, of course all electrics and scenery, whole bunch of stuff coming, so really hope to see you soon.